It's that Skydive Sim Guy podcast where we discuss skydiving stories as well as give some great tips, whether it's the real world or the virtual world. This podcast is made possible by Skydive Sim, the world's most advanced skydiving simulator. Hey, it's that Skydive Sim Guy here today with Bryan Marsh. Bryan, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks so much for coming on. So, you and I met a couple of years ago when I was looking for environment artists, and you actually also work for Procedural Worlds, which is a pretty big company that deals with environments. Why don't you give us a little background on you?
Yeah, I've been in the gaming industry now for, oh boy, 7, 8, 9 years, something like that. I first got my job at Procedural Worlds. That's where I started my whole career, actually, and I'm still there. Before that, I was in the military. I had gotten seriously hurt out there, and when I came home, it was like, oh, I need to do something. I can't work on normal jobs anymore, and my body's destroyed. So I got into game development. I bought my first computer with the little scraps of money that I had at the time, and just started doing random dev work as much as I could. I built like knockoff Slender Man style games and a bunch of other stuff, and eventually Adam from Procedure Worlds set a post on Discord that they were hiring for a support and QA guy. And I had been already using their products, which Gaia is their hero product, and it helps you basically make terrains and worlds inside of Unity. And from that point, I was like, well, I know your tools already, so please hire me on, and they did. So I went through the interview process and all that sort of stuff, and now I've done everything under the sun for that company. From support QA, business development. Working with some of the enterprise solutions or companies that we work with and indies all over the world and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. I remember I wrote actually, I think, on the Discord server asking if anybody could help me out with building some worlds, and
Yeah.
that's how we met.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I was pretty excited to get the guy that actually makes the tutorials on how to use the system come in and say, "Hey, I'll help out with it."
Yeah.
And yeah, that
I
was
like doing
about two
that.
years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That and I mean, you have made some really nice levels for us before you got involved. I mean, we had some of the levels that just looked mediocre. You even take those and make them really nice. I know your original idea was to just really kick it out the park,
Yeah.
and we had to scale it back because of the limitations of Quest. So tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, the limitations of standalone VR is absolutely insane, and I hope it gets better, and I think it is getting better. But yeah, I mean, large and look, I'm used to desktop games and console games where you can have a lot of play inside of these large environments as long as you optimize them correctly, and sort of those types of things. But doing a standalone Quest VR. That was a little bit of a challenge, and we learned right away, some of those limitations that we could do and what we couldn't do. So I think it came together really well in the long run of what we did, and I think we have some room for improvement as technology continues to advance a bit more, but. I think, large world creations is very difficult inside of those.
Especially when you're coming down at a very high speed, looking at
Yes.
almost everything in that
Yeah.
terrain, and then moving even under canopy like 90 miles per hour, and you're trying to see this gigantic area, and
Yeah.
we can't kill the illusion by making it smaller. So it has to be done at a certain grand scheme of things, just going to
Yeah.
make it really big. So that's definitely a challenge.
Yeah. Doing the nose already. That's you're not supposed to be falling in VR, and here we are falling from great distances. And
Yeah,
it turned
yeah.
out amazing. I mean, I can't complain about it. And for somebody like me, I get motion sickness super easy in VR, and I think I even mentioned that to you. And when we were designing this thing, like the first few attempts I would get sick, and I was like, oh no, this can't work. This can't work. But we came out with a really good solution, I think, and even I don't get sick in this. So I think that's even
Yeah.
more impressive and amazing to me.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely people that still get sick. You and I have been in VR a lot, so
Yeah.
we're kind of immune. But yeah, there's certain games I put on and I still get a little bit of motion sickness as
Yeah.
well. So it just depends on how it's done, certain things in it. I know you tried the ride along feature and you said that it
Yeah.
made you a little sick.
That one got me. That one got me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That's another one of the no's, right? It's
yeah.
how many no's are there? You were telling me the other day. What
It's
are all
like
the no's that we have in here?
I think it's like the four no's, which is large worlds in VR. What was some of the other ones? It was falling, can't control your body, above 70 FPX. Which we are. I believe we're way over
Yeah, we're
70
definitely
FPS.
hitting the FPS. Yeah.
So those those are the main four that you have to hit, or three, or whatever those
Yeah.
were. But
And then we added ride along, which gives you no control and you're just moving in there.
yeah,
It's, yeah. But it works. I mean,
does.
we've got really good feedback. I've had a lot of people talk about the environments looking good. And I know, like you said, there's room for improvement, but for where technology is, and this being an indie game, I mean, it's
Yeah,
basically an indie passion project for me that I'm like, there's nothing like it out there. And I'm
yeah,
a skydiver, and I want a skydiving simulator that's going to be available to pretty much anybody with a headset
yeah.
without a need of a gaming computer. And that was the whole idea behind it. So,
Yeah, and I was down for it too, because I mean, like I said, I got hurt in the military, and I've jumped, and I can't. At least I haven't tried. I haven't jumped in a long time, which is something we talked about some time ago. But
yeah.
and that the mechanics of the game, the canopy, and just the overall feel felt so close to what I had experienced when I used to jump. And I think that in itself is an impressive feat, to make a game feel like a real thing. So,
Yeah, and I was actually super excited when the first time we talked, and you said you actually skydived and you were in the military, and I'm like, this is a dream come true, because most of the devs I've worked with, they've never been skydiving.
yeah,
So, and I must say, a lot of the devs that I've gone through over the years, several of them, I should say, have actually gone and done a tandem after working on this project. It's
that's
like
cool.
at first they were saying no way, I would never do it, but then they were in skydive sim and they had to go do a tandem just to feel it for themselves and
Yeah.
compare it. So that's
Tandem's at least a
super cool.
little not as scarier than full on jumping by yourself. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely nerve wracking for someone that has never done it, for sure.
Yeah, I remember my first tandem. I was scared. I mean, I didn't get the video package for that one because I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that I don't see my face like that. But then
Right.
on my very first AFF jump, there was a camera and I looked at it probably months or maybe a year or two later.
Yeah.
And you can see that look on my face where I'm just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
The
Yeah. How was
oh boy moment.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like this is happening. How was your first experience? Tell me about that.
So I didn't have a pleasant experience because I was in the military. And so it was you're gonna do this whether you want to or not, sort of thing. And I was terrified. And at first it was like it was the free falling aspect and that being free moment. And like everything just goes away. Like I just stopped thinking for a while, and I think that was probably one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much. And I'm an adrenaline junkie. Obviously, I joined the military, uh, but no, it's a very freeing feeling for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, in the military, is it static line or is it you actually do they just throw you out and say good luck?
Sometimes it's
How does
static,
that work?
sometimes it's not. It's just depending
Yeah.
on what the training was or whatever.
So you did both of them, or
I've
have you
I've
done
done both.
static?
Yeah, I've done both.
Yeah. And military, what branch? Can you tell me?
I was the army. Yeah.
The army. Awesome, man. So, any memorable stories in the Army and skydiving?
Um, well, not so much for me. I mean, thankfully, I was blessed with never having a bad experience. So, um, it was, I did jump at night once, and that was very extreme for me. That was more nerve-wracking than anything, because it's so hard to see the ground and you just can't until you're super close. But I mean, like we had a lot of like FBX missions, which are like field training exercise missions, and these missions they had like fire going off, and you had simulation rounds going and grenades going off, and just the whole experience of what it felt like. I would say that was probably the coolest moment, especially with NVGs on and all that stuff, and you feel unstoppable. Um, and I think those moments were amazing, and it was cool because it felt like a game. it felt like even if I was to go down, I have another respawn, but even though you don't, but it feels like that. It feels like you're invincible, and it's a crazy experience, and like nothing
Yeah,
else.
actually, you're right. I mean, skydiving alone, when I started, when you have a few jumps, you start thinking you're invincible, which is a
Yeah,
very dangerous attitude to have.
it's
And
very
then
dangerous.
I've done, I don't know, I think 3 or 4 night jumps.
Yeah,
They're required for the D license. And also, of course, I wanted to do it. And I remember, I can't remember exactly how many jumps I already had, but it was in a few hundreds when I did my first night jump. And I
yeah,
remember feeling that rush again, and I was high for a week after that. I mean,
yeah.
we were on the plane, all the lights are off, all you see is just the green and the red light.
Yep.
Everybody's quiet. I mean, I felt like I was in the military doing this jump because
Yeah.
it's like, wow. And of course, we don't have all the stuff you have, which is fire and grenade and stuff, but
Fully
I think it,
fully kitted out, just weighing a
yeah,
hundred
yeah.
pounds.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have all that, but I mean, it was an amazing experience doing the night jump.
Yeah.
And that's why I've added actually some of those night jumps in the sim because it's just a whole different world
It is.
when you're jumping
It,
at night.
it's a night and day difference, obviously, but it's no, seriously, it's a whole nother feeling jumping at night than it is during the day, for sure.
It is. It is. You definitely can't see. Well, when we did it, obviously, we did it on full moon nights,
Right.
and also that the first time we did it, it was just bunch of cars on the landing area with their headlights on, so you kind of
Right.
see where you're going and just landing parallel to them. It definitely exciting stuff. So. Let me ask you this. So you worked on this project a couple of years ago, I'd say, and then you and I talked a little bit the other day, and you tried the game again after not trying it for a while.
Mhm.
What was your impression on how far we've come?
It's come along amazingly. All the new stuff that you guys have added in there was really fun. I love the wind tunnel. I love the jetpacks. I think the environments definitely look a little bit better as well. They have improved. I like the shading and texturing aspects that was done was really well done, and it looks really really nice, and it gives it that more realistic feel to those terrains, which is very hard to achieve. Those clouds was a nice improvement as well. I know you mentioned something about those, and
Definitely.
those felt way more natural, out of that. So I really enjoyed that as well because it gave it that more experience there. The wind tunnels felt really good as well. I did get to play around with that a little bit more. Um, and the gameplay aspect of actually having something to do while you're jumping and something that you can play around with your friends and be like, hey, I got a better score. I didn't touch the mountain, or I collected all these coins, or I landed just right, and haha, you didn't. So I think those the games came a long way since I was last in it. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I mean, the scoring that you mentioned, actually, it's funny because on our Discord channel, I see people trying to beat each other. Somebody was actually asking me the other day, how is it possible to get, I think somebody had a top score of 20,000 something. And I told him, if you go into one of those mountain scenes where you can actually do lines and go down the mountain and just get as close as you can
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of barely graze the mountain, the more you do it and for the longer time that you're holding that, you're going to get a lot of score. And he actually wrote back and said, I'm number one now. Thanks for that tip.
Got him.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. He went in and did it. Brian, you mentioned you got hurt while in the military. Do you
Mhm.
feel comfortable telling me a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so one of my, I guess, more serious injuries, I was rappelling off of a Black Hawk, and I had been in a Swiss seat for probably like close to 7 hours, which basically a Swiss seat is a rope seat, for those that don't know. And the problem with Swiss seats is they tighten down more and more and more. And by the time I finally went to go rappel onto this building that I needed to be on, my first jump, and when I landed on the building, I had shattered my hips and my pelvis. Um, and I had fractured my L5 in my spine. And I had to take 5 more jumps until I got low enough to let go of my chain or my tandem hook. And I just bloop right on the ground. And after that, I was done. Um, and then, I had some other serious moments in actual fights and stuff like that as well. I got shot and that sort of thing. So, I came out of it for the most part unscathed. I developed something called RSD, which is reflex sympathetic dystrophy. So basically, my nerves and my muscles are shutting down. And then recently, I actually got diagnosed with tremors, which was very insightful. I'm glad that we finally discovered what it was. Um, for the longest time, I thought it was the RSD that was causing the shakiness to a degree and all that sort of stuff. But come to find out that it was tremors. So now I'm on actual proper medication for it, and it helps to a degree. So, I'm just thankful I'm here. It is what it
Yeah,
is.
definitely. Sounds like you're a true American hero.
I wouldn't say
You
all
know,
that, but I'm, I lived, so I'm here, but I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you.
for sure, man. So, yeah, so that explains why you can't jump right now, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been, oh boy, it's 5, 6 years now.
Wow.
I think since all that happened and, you know, I, I was, I was told that in 5 years I'd be in a wheelchair. Um, and this is the fifth year, and they've tried doing bilateral hip replacement. They tried putting a plate on my spine and all that stuff. I won't do the surgery. Um, I'm like, I'm still walking, and they're like, oh, there's like a 40% chance that you'll stand up after surgery. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'll wait until I just can't walk anymore before I do all that.
Wow. But you're doing what you love now. You're doing game design and actually, I guess, things that you can't do, like skydiving. Games like Skydive Sim can help you
Yeah,
get that fixed to an extent. I know it's not like the real thing.
yeah.
Nothing can ever be the real thing.
Right. Yeah, no, it definitely, like I said, it's the closest that I've gotten to that feeling. And I said the same thing about my motorcycle, to be honest, too, because it was hard. I had to get rid of all my bikes, because I couldn't hold them up anymore. And
Yeah.
I went out and I bought a convertible, um, Mitsubishi Eclipse Spire GT convertible, and then
Nice.
it gave me a similar feeling because I'm sitting there with the wind and I'm like, oh, I feel this again, and I miss it. I do miss it. I really do, and
Yeah.
I do. I am getting better to a degree. I've actually been able to get a lot of my strength back.
That's
Um,
great.
and it's been a slow and steady process. And I actually just went through another CMP exam through the VA. And they were like, yeah, like parts of you are doing a lot better. And honestly, I want to jump one last time, even if I can't before I'm in a wheelchair. And I think that's on my to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Would you do a jump solo or you would? you would have to do tandem or what? Because
I would probably have to do
being hurt.
tandem. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to jump solo again. You know, because again, that's in itself a different experience. But um, for the safety of and fear of others and myself,
Yeah.
yeah, I think tandem's the smartest.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, as far as motorcycles, have you found any VR games that can kind of help you with that fix?
No, surprisingly not. You know, that's a very interesting one to think about. You know, I still have a Goldwing. It was an 81 or 83 Goldwing, and it's 1100. It's one of the biggest ones that they've ever made. And it just sits in my driveway, so I can. There needs some work, so I can fix it up to sell it. But you know, I haven't been on a bike since before the military either, and you know, I've been on my dad's bike. My dad's a big old Harley dude, and he's got a gold or Road King, you know, and I'll pick up his bike, and then which is, you know, that's the biggest one Harley makes. I'll pick up his bike and I'll turn it on just to feel it again, and I'm just like, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, my father and I, you know, we're the only two people in our family that ride, out of my immediate family, and I got to ride with him one time, before I left for the army, and he left me behind really fast. He just took off, and I told him, I said, I'm gonna be so mad, you know, if you give up your bike, because he's getting older. He's, you know, he's 66, and he's not so comfortable on a bike anymore. But I was like, I'm gonna get so mad if you know, I can't ride a bike anymore, and you give away your bike. You know, it's gonna be sad. But yeah, no, simulation games in itself are very hard to find, and not a lot of people make them. Um, you know, I think because of how challenging they truly are to, you know, because you can get scrutinized, whether it's not as close as it should be, or you get scrutinized because of this, that, and the other, or just because it's a game.
Right.
You know, and there are some sims out there that do really well. Of course, like for the military guys, most military people that I know, they're playing like Arma 3, or they're playing Escape from Tarkov or Gray Zone, or, you know, those types of games, which are very close. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It would be cool to see a motorcycle one out there, but it'd be a very hard feeling, I think, altogether.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of car racing ones out there,
Yeah,
but
sim
motorcycle, I guess
racing,
not many
iRacing.
people have thought about adapting that. You know, I like a challenge, so maybe at one point we can work on one.
Yeah,
Because that's the thing with skydive sim. I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, I wanted to just buy one after I hurt my ankle when I was skydiving early on, and just wanted to have something to practice with. I was like, man, it would be so cool, because every time I see the ground coming after I hurt my ankle, I was PLFing into the ground because I
right.
didn't want to hurt my ankle again. But I couldn't find anything. There was just nothing out there. So
Yeah.
again, challenge accepted. I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and make one. This is a passion project. So,
That's
and I'm glad
amazing.
I did it. Yeah, I mean, I've met a lot of great people like yourself, and I feel like we've really brought out something for the community
Mhm.
that can use. A lot of people. Brian Germain is using it to teach skydiving to different people. He was in Norway, I believe, and he said he was there for some canopy coaching, and it rains a
Mhm.
lot there. And one of the days, all they did was sit in the hangar and just play with skydive sim, which is
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Another thing he told me was at the skydiving symposium, he was next to these guys from the Polish army, and he found out that they actually use skydive sim for their training as well, which is
That's really cool.
amazing to know. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of those things that's like, okay, these are people I don't know or know about, and here they are using it for something great.
Yeah.
So
And
that's a great feeling.
that's a very interesting point. Like, and I don't know how much I can say, but we in the military we had simulations for all sorts of things. And to be fair, I think before anybody gets mad about me, I think they showcase a lot of these in their trailers for joining the army or these certain branches. Okay, but they had like Humvee simulations where you were actually like in a Humvee and it felt like you're getting hit by an IED and all this sort of stuff. Um, and we had like shooting ones and stuff like that where you literally had your actual gun and you hooked it up to these machines and you shot at a screen and it had like the full feedback and everything before we like really got to actually shoot. So like I can see a place for Skydive Sim to be up there with those types of trainings for, the paratrooper guys, and getting their certs done and stuff like that. I could see it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they also use there is, like you said, gun training with actual Quest headsets that I've seen um, people do in Europe. I was
Yeah.
just seeing an ad actually from a company that builds those, and it's basically they had rifles and they all had a Quest headset on their head,
Yeah.
just kind of going through. I'm guessing they would simulate going through different scenarios and
Yeah.
rooms and actually shooting subjects. And that's definitely, I think VR is headed that way as well. It's just
Yeah.
it's going to get better and better where you can get real training
Yeah.
with simulations like this.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the number of things that I've seen and like the integration with IoT, the Internet of Things, and where AR and VR kind of collab with those things, whether it be simulations or games or just, daily life stuff. Like we're seeing a lot of people trying to innovate to make these glasses that have, GPS on them and, you know, all these sort of things in your peripherals and stuff. And it's trying to seemingly become more and more like Ready Player One,
Yeah.
and um, I don't think we'll ever get to that point per se, but I think we can get pretty close.
I don't know. I always like when I watch the movies where kind of like I can't remember what series it was, but they had a little chip. They would just put it right here, and that was all they needed for VR. It would basically tap into
Yeah,
their brain, and they're just in a different world and seeing stuff. So
wasn't that like Black Mirror?
I think it might have been Black Mirror.
Black
Actually,
Mirror
that
had an
sounds.
episode of that, I think, and it was
Yeah,
super
I've seen
cool.
it in a few different shows that do
Yeah.
that, and I mean, I think we might get there one day. I don't know.
It'd be interesting, especially with something like Neuralink. You never know. You know what I mean? So Elon Musk and his Neuralink stuff. I mean, it'll be interesting. And I mean, I'm hopeful for stuff like that. Like I'm a big sucker for technology, and escaping, not so much escaping the real world, but enough to where you can experience something else, right?
Yeah,
And the capability of experiencing something, especially for people that have issues and can't experience those things, is also very interesting to me and very important to me. One thing that I remember very well, especially with my beginning days of VR, was I've always wanted to see the pyramids. That has
yeah.
been on my bucket list since I was a kid. I'm obsessed with them. And like I remember putting on VR for the first time and seeing the pyramids through the VR, and it was like, while it wasn't that I wasn't there, and I knew I wasn't, but it was such amazing experience to go through and actually get to see those things. And I feel like
Right.
even VR has a place for those things, and even like with what you're doing, like you're giving people the ability, even somebody like me, to jump without hurting myself or having the chance where I can't go out and do those things, but now I have a chance to do that thing. So
Right, right. And when you mentioned you saw the pyramids, was this Google Earth, the
no,
PC
it was some
version, or?
application. It was so weird. I don't know what it was, but it was like a tour, 3D tours of like different places you can
Okay.
go
Yeah,
to.
more of those are popping up. I think Google Earth on Rift, it's never been on Quest, and I
Yeah.
understand why, the limitations, obviously.
Right.
And I remember trying that, and I mean, you feel like God. You are just basically moving the Earth, spinning it, and then
Mm-hmm.
flying towards it, going to this area. Then you can come back and spin the Earth again. I
Yeah.
mean, it's amazing what they did, and I mean, as the technology gets better and better with headsets, all in one headsets, I think we can definitely have more and more of that, and it's going to look even more real because even
Yeah.
with that version, it was, you know, you can see it's a pixelated image at some point. It's just technology processing power wasn't there,
Yeah.
but we're getting there. We're getting
Yeah.
there for sure.
I think we are. I think there's a lot of advancements, and more competition is better. And I highly believe in that, with of course Meta now doing what
Right.
they're doing, and you got the HTC Vive guys, and there's tons of new headsets popping up all the time now. And I think it has a serious place in the industry. And I think once they find the abilities to make it cheaper and cheaper, more people can adapt to it. And you
Right.
know, my biggest complaint about the Quest, at least the Quest 2, is how heavy it is, really.
Yeah.
And like that's it. Of course, I can't stand for very long either, so I have to play in a chair a lot, which kind of sucks because it does break down a little bit of immersion there. But you know, I can see, and I think they even said the new Meta whatever is slightly less heavy. It's
Quest 3S probably, yeah.
yeah,
They're coming out with that soon. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I kind of sit and play a lot, mainly because I don't have the room. I mean, if I had a gigantic area with nothing in it, then I would walk around and do
yeah,
stuff. But there's also things like Cat VR where you can just set that up and you pretty much have it omnidirectional treadmill. And
yeah.
I actually saw a guy playing skydive sim in it, and then when he was in free fall, it was a harness that was on him, so he was
And
just
keep
kind
them
of
like flat and
horizontal.
stuff.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was flat
that's
horizontal. I was
cool.
like,
That's really
man,
cool.
I need to get one of these things.
Yeah,
And I mean, they're fairly cheap. Yeah, I think they're like about $1,300 or so. That's the
that's not
starting price.
bad. Yeah, that's
It's
not
not
bad.
bad at all for what you get.
Right.
And down the road, like I said before, this is an indie project, so we really don't have a big budget to keep pushing stuff. We do a
Right.
lot of updates, but adding sensors and adding something that works with Cat VR, or even build our own to where you are actually able to really get into
Hmm.
horizontal position, get into sit position, that would be amazing to do.
Yeah.
So hopefully, once we sell more of the app, we can
Well,
take that money
dude,
and put it
yeah,
in and make
make
something
those
with it.
things. Did you ever get to experience Feels Real?
No, I have not.
Um,
Tell me.
Feels Real was a device that you attached to the bottom of the Quest. And it like sprayed stuff at you, like for that misty feeling. It sprayed smells, and all this sort of stuff, and it was really cool. I think they got banned because they were using the same stuff that we use in like vape products. Um,
I see.
VG and PG and all this stuff. And their product got pulled. But I was really excited about that thing because like people were saying that it just added that whole nother experience because obviously you can't see anything and here's stuff like you can smell the flowers and you can feel the wind in your face and stuff. I was like, man, somebody needs to do that again.
Yeah, I remember actually, I think they experimentally in movie theaters, they did that for a while.
Yeah.
Years
Yeah.
ago, I should say decades ago. And I mean, I can definitely see how that would enhance things because a lot of what we perceive is what we hear and what we
Hmm.
smell, things like that, because it's not just what we see. So it
Right.
definitely can make it a lot more real. I mean, pretty
Yeah.
soon that'd be a hologram, right? We're gonna have
Right.
all of that
Right. We'll be
going
talking
on.
to each other on like our wrist or something, things going on.
Yeah.
But I mean, in like, yeah, 3D movies, or not 3D movies, but interactive movies still exist in a lot of like theme parks. Like I remember going to, was it Hollywood, Universal,
Universal.
um, and they had Terminator back when I was young,
Yeah.
and Terminator was just a real big thing at the time. And they were like moving the chairs and spraying stuff at you, and the whole theater was like moving around, and all the live action people or normal people were acting things out and stuff. I was like, that was really cool, and I could see that being like, yeah, it immersed you in that whole
Yeah.
scenario, you know. So I think it has a place, and it's super valid for these types of things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I went to Universal Studios Harry Potter World
I love that place.
actually right
Oh,
before I started the
yeah.
VR project. And that's what actually got me thinking to try VR again to see how far it's come. Because I remember one of my favorites was where you're in this roller coaster that's somewhat virtual. It's like you're following them, they're under broomsticks flying, and
Yeah.
the camera's following them, and you're pretty much sitting in one place, but the seat is moving, and
Yeah.
gigantic screen is covering your peripheral vision, which makes you feel like you're really there and you're really
Yeah.
flying. The other one I really liked that I had to do twice was the Jimmy Kimmel experience. It was you're in the audience and then it starts going on a street and then you go on a roller coaster to the moon and then from there you start coming back and you free fall towards the earth because the roller coaster is not complete. And that was such an amazing feeling because with this giant screen, I mean, I was putting my hands behind me almost like, okay, I'm going to track to the earth. It really felt good. And
Yeah.
those are actually the inspirations, I think, for me wanting to start Skydive
Yeah.
Sim. Because
That's
pretty
cool.
much 6 months after that is when I started wanting to build the app.
That's cool. I went to Universal Florida as well, and I was obsessed with the Harry Potter world, the butterbeer,
Yeah.
I do remember the broomstick one that you're talking about. That one was cool, and Green Gots was
Yeah.
super cool too.
Yes,
I
yes.
remember Green Gots, and I think they even had a Simpsons one.
I did
where it was
that one too.
virtual
Yeah,
experience.
that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, those ones are all cool, and so it is interesting. I mean, from your background is in the movie industry, right? So
Right.
you're used to visual productions and stuff like that. And I'm actually curious, like, would you say that that gave you kind of somewhat an edge into game development, especially trying to make your first game?
Oh, for sure. For me, I basically translated my skills as a director into, okay, so it's basically having a team and you have to get the right people to do what they do. Get somebody that can code this, get somebody that can build the environments. The drawback for me was I've never done a game, so I didn't have the connections. If I want to go out and shoot a movie, I already know who I'm probably
Right.
going to work with, what producers, what DP, and everything. And so it's kind of built, and then I'm already in that community.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it took a bit longer, and that's why I think the very first version of the game was just it took longer to bring it to where it is now. So
Yeah.
it was a learning curve for me as well. But I definitely think it helped being in the movie industry with the visual parts of it.
Yeah. So shameless plug, but what was that movie that I watched that you had done on
Oh,
Amazon?
Flash is the director's cut.
Yes.
Yeah, that
I
was a
absolutely
passion
love that.
project as well. Yeah,
I absolutely love that movie. It was I watched it a few times, and I made my lady watch it too.
you're into the multiverse type of movies, huh?
I am. I
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah, I am
Anything
too.
technology wise or multiverse or Spider-Man, the new one with Tom Holland and stuff, where they
Yeah.
brought back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and all those. Oh
Yeah.
man, I was so in heaven when I watched that. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan.
I'd say
But-
time travel and multiverse is my two favorite sci-fi subjects.
Yeah.
And then maybe the third one would be aliens, but definitely what could have been or how it can change if you change one little thing. Butterfly Effect was one of my
Yep.
favorite movies. I just find that stuff amazing and I can talk about it all day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Butterfly Effect was a good one. I remember that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Yeah, but saying that we can talk all day, we should probably cut it short and maybe come back in a few months and talk some more because I really enjoy talking to you.
Yeah.
And
Likewise.
it's
I
great
appreciate
catching
it.
up with you on here as well.
I appreciate it, man. It's been a pleasure, and it was a pleasure working on the game as well.
Oh man, I'm
so
so
I can't
glad
wait.
that we met and you gave life to some of those scenes that really needed it, and you built some that are from scratch. One of my favorites is the one that titled Mountains,
Mm-hmm.
and that one is like more of a social gathering almost. It's like when I go with some other skydivers, we normally go into that because you can jump in, and then you got jetpacks to get back up if you want. You got the soup pond in there that you can soup, and you got the wind tunnel right there too. And I just pushed an update that makes the radio tower a lot taller. So now you can use the jetpacks to go on top of it and base jump off of it. And I know you and I talked about maybe adding something to where you can actually climb up, which would be fun. So that's going to be coming at some point as well. So
that'd be cool too. I think like something like the ability to like climb up mountains and stuff, and then like wingsuit glide down or parachute down. That'd be super sick too.
For sure, man. Yeah, keep the ideas coming. We'll definitely add more stuff to it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate having me on. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Great talking to you.
Yeah, you as well, Ben.
Take care.